Shortly after May 4th, 1970, Kent State President Robert White created a commission. He actually created two commissions. The first one was called the KSU Commission on Violence. It had a quite focused mandate. It was to gather facts and narratives. It collected documents, recordings, photographs, and conducted interviews with townspeople, university folk, students, staff, faculty. It was not tasked with discovering causes. It did not ask the why question. That was asked by the 1970 Presidential Commission on Campus Unrest, a federal commission named the Scranton Commission. It asked the why question. But our Commission on Violence accumulated a vast documentation of the who, what, where, when questions, and you can find that in the library, along with, after that, hundreds of oral histories that are extremely rich. There was also a second commission appointed by President White that year, and it was called the Commission on Commemorative Recognition. Now that's a bit of a tongue twister in one way. It doesn't roll easily off the tongue, but it says an awful lot. It's a very elegant pairing of words on the other hand. The Commission on Commemorative Recognition. It may not run off the tongue, but it speaks to the heart. It speaks to this deep human need that we all have every time we experience any kind of traumas. To be affirmed. To have that experience affirmed, recognized, and in some ways validated. That's what mediators do, who are good at their job. That's what therapists do, who are good at their job. That commission came back with a recommendation, a series of recommendations. One of them was a consensus recommendation to establish a Center for Peaceful Mechanisms of Social and Political Change. It was to be a living memorial to these four brave people. And it was called the Center for Peaceful Change. It was established in 1971. Previously housed under the Provost's office as an independent independent center, we became part of the Department of Political Science in 1994 and changed our name to the Center for Applied Conflict Management. Our undergraduate degree in Peace and Conflict Studies has about 85 majors and minors. We enroll, more importantly, over 1,000 Kent State students in our courses every year. It's a testament to this university's ongoing commitment to this living memorial that not only are we one of the country's largest and leading programs in peace and conflict studies, with 5 full-time faculty dedicated to that program alone, but we are hiring 3 more over the next year, and the center is transforming into the Kent State's new School of Peace and Conflict Studies. It will become one of only 3 such schools in this country, and that, dear friends, is something to celebrate. When we experience trauma, over time our personal relationship to that trauma changes. It evolves. It has to, because trauma has to do with living memory, and we're living human beings, so our memories have to evolve as well. And so you can think about that in your own life in terms of how traumatic experiences you've had where you've lost a loved one, how your relationship to that person and to that event and to those memories has changed over time. And just like that happens for us in our own lives, it happens to institutions. And so Kent State's relationship to the trauma of May 4th, the legacies of May 4th, has not always been an easy one. It's a complicated history. Last night at the candlelight march and vigil, Jerry Lewis was there. He's sitting over here. When Jerry started the candlelight vigil 47 years ago, he had a particular kind of relationship to what happened on May 4th. I didn't get a chance to ask him this last night, but I'll bet you that his experience of that trauma was different last night than it was on the vigil in 1971. And that's okay, because those relationships change and the institutions does as well. So we've kept this legacy at arm's length as an institution at times. At other times we've desecrated it by building buildings on a sacred site. At other times we have created new memorials and new institutions and new centers and other ways to memorialize and keep this memory alive. When in the 1990s we hired Carol Cartwright, our first woman president, our relationship to the legacies of May 4th changed in really significant ways. President Cartwright understood that we had a particular relationship and a particular responsibility as an educational institution vis-a-vis May 4th, and she turned this institution in that way, in that manner. Now with Beverly Warren, our second woman president, I don't think the gender dynamic here is coincidental. We see a new shift in terms of the institution's relationship to the legacies of May 4th, a very important one. At the Center for Applied Conflict Management, we teach applied skills for constructive conflict engagement. We believe that conflicts create opportunities for change. So we have whole courses on negotiation, whole classes on mediation, whole courses on workplace conflict, on gender and conflict, on cross-cultural conflict management, on international conflict resolution, on environmental conflict resolution. The future of conflict is going to be in resource development and in water and in environmental issues, as we all know. And of course, we offer a course on nonviolent action, going back to our roots. And throughout our long history, the Center has served in a mediating role in a variety of campus conflicts, as well during Tent City. An interesting sidelight on that is one of the early demands of the occupiers of Tent City was to keep the Center for Peaceful Change, which was under threat of closing in 1977. And we played a mediating role in that conflict, just like as we have in other conflicts, both in the town and in the region and in the community. We've trained public housing residents in Cleveland in negotiation skills to help them in their struggle for fair and just housing. We train volunteer community mediators at community mediation centers all across the Midwest over the years. We train activists preparing themselves for nonviolent civil disobedience. With student affairs, I see Vice President Shea Little over there. We've recently established the student mediation services here on campus to intervene in student conflicts in constructive ways. So Kent State's new School of Peace and Conflict Studies will continue in those directions, but with a higher profile and new resources and new faculty. We'll go off in new directions that we don't know quite yet where they will lead us. We anticipate to develop a master's degree program to complement our existing bachelor's degree and the conflict analysis track that we have in the political science PhD program. And then soon, students will be coming from all over the world to Kent State to study conflict resolution and constructive conflict management on all three levels, the undergraduate, master's, and doctoral level. And that, dear friends, is something to celebrate. We envision the creation of faculty and student working groups on various conflicts. Already we have a faculty group emerging to work on identity-driven conflicts, to generate new research about those dynamics. We've secured a major academic conference to occur here on campus in the fall of 2019, the beginning of the 50th anniversary commemoration year. This will be the annual conference of the Peace History Society and the Peace Studies section of the International Studies Association. It will be hosted here on the Kent State campus. So, with the creation of the May 4th Visitor Center, with the peace-themed work of the Wick Poetry Center, with the creation of the School of Peace and Conflict Studies, and so much more, Kent State is increasingly becoming known not just for the violent conflict by the hands of the state here 47 years ago, but also it's becoming known as a place for people to come to study the constructive engagement of conflicts. And it's becoming known as a leading public institution, state institution, where one can study and engage in constructive conflict management. And that, too, is something to celebrate. Thank you.